What's up guys, this is Danny Matrango with Mind Pump TV. Today I'm super excited to share with you some of my favorite tips and tricks that I picked up along the way in my years of training. Stuff that's really helped me and helped my clients see success and progression inside and outside the gym. Let's get into it. Every gym you go to is more than likely going to have some variation of this pec fly, rear delt fly machine. It's just going to work in this direction or this direction to kind of move the arms inward and outward. If you were faced around, it'd be a pec fly, but in this position, it's a rear delt fly. This is one of the most commonly misused machines in every gym. People have a tendency to just grab a hold of the handles and throw their arms back as far back as possible. And what happens when you do that is you allow the scapula or the shoulder blades to come together. And anytime they come together, we're training a muscle called the rhomboid. And the rhomboid's a superficial back muscle that we can't really even see, and it's very strong, so it's gonna take away from the rear delt. So when we do the rear delt fly, one of the things I want you guys to focus on is stabilizing the shoulder blade. So think about it staying in one place. And the minute that it starts to move is when you actually will go back into the eccentric portion of the contraction. So a tip I have right out of the gate, stabilize the shoulder and think about the range of motion being that which is only happening independent of the scapula or shoulder blade moving. So just move your arms until you feel the scapula come together. That'll have the rear deltoid working fully. Then you can go back into the eccentric portion. And once you figure it out and feel it, you can live in that range of motion and your rear delts will pop and light up like you've probably never felt them before. I want to give you guys a bonus tip in regards to how you set up for the movement. So your clavicle, right, or your collarbone, this bone right here, I like to make sure that when I line up, it's relatively close to the same plane as the handles, right? Another tip you can use is to try to make sure that when the arm goes into flexion or out in front of the body, it's not too high up and it's not too far down. So the two things you're gonna need to look at are just the position of the seat. All of these machines are gonna have an adjustable seat, and making sure it's adjusted so that your chest can be in the pad and your clavicles are relatively close to the handle. That's gonna give you additional stability. And again, the more stable you are through a machine movement that's specific for hypertrophy, the better muscle activation you're gonna get, because when a joint is stable, you can contract that musculature a lot harder. So stabilizing the trunk and upper back like that, it's gonna allow your rear delts to move more weight with more mechanical efficiency and overload them easier. Another thing I wanna show you guys that you can do, given that the deltoid has a rotational effect on the humerus, right, on the arm, you can actually play around with where you grip most rear deltoid fly machines. You can grip it with a neutral grip position and simply go through a range of motion like this. You can grip it in internal rotation. That seems to be the most popular. I feel it best when I'm internally rotated, right? So please feel free to play with it. Anytime you rotate, you're gonna get some variation of what muscle fibers you activate. And I think the more that you activate and the more that you stimulate, the better growth you're gonna get overall. So feel free to play with it. The second part of this superset is a band pull apart. This is a very common exercise for warming up the shoulder. It's a super common exercise for maybe even working the upper back and rhomboids, because again, you can retract the scapula and pull them fully together working the rhomboids. But with this, I like to focus on exactly the same things I'm focusing on when I do the cable rear delt fly. So what I'll do is I'll take this piece to fatigue, right? Then I'll grab my band, hold the arms at full extension. I sit upright and I pull apart again, focusing on getting the greatest range of motion I can possibly without my scapula coming together. So again, stable scapula that doesn't move allows me to bias the rear delts and take the rhomboids out of the equation. And that's really the goal whenever we're training hypertrophy, right? Or muscle growth. I want to be able to fully contract the target tissue. I don't want to move. I don't want to just do reps. I want to stimulate my rear delt. So again, taking this to relative fatigue, grabbing the band and doing the same mechanic, right, allows me to extend the set, provide a greater stimulus with less risk for injury. And I promise you, if you do this for a little while, a couple times a week, you're gonna notice drastic transformation in the shape, size, and definition of your rear deltoid. I recommend performing this superset or either of the two exercises within the superset a couple times a week if you're looking to build your rear delts. Given that the rear delt's a relatively small piece of musculature, it's not gonna require a ton of load and a ton of intensity to train. It's something you can kind of dose more frequently in your training. Maybe 2, 3, 4 times a week even if you're really looking to develop that tissue. I would recommend doing it at the end or towards the end of your workout so it doesn't interfere with any of the greater pushing or pulling stuff that you're gonna do. But anywhere between 3 to 4 times a week if you really wanna get the delts to pop, 1 to 2 if you just wanna maintain them. And I like my repetition range on this exercise to be anywhere between 10 to 20 repetitions, given that it is, again, an isolated exercise on a really small muscle on a very, relatively fragile and mobile joint. I don't like to train it super heavy, so I'll end up usually focusing on a higher rep range with a little bit more of a moderate to lightweight. Hey guys, thanks so much for tuning in. If you liked the video, do us a big favor. Like, comment, subscribe, give us some feedback on what you liked, where you want to see us go with future content. We always want to tailor what we're working on to better suit what you guys need. Have an awesome day.